I thought red-winged blackbird was going to be difficult to find, but I was very wrong about that.
As the calendar turns to March, the natural world begins to stir. This is the time of year when migratory birds typically start heading north and arriving in the areas they will spend their spring and summer. With the weather starting to warm and the snow and ice beginning to melt, I excitedly went out to see if I could find some early migrants.
Hey everyone, it is the 2nd of March, which means that spring is on its way. Some people have reported some migrant birds already moving into the area, and I am out by a Riverwalk to see if I can find any of these species.
Spring migration typically follows a similar schedule each year, with particular species showing up first and signaling to birders that the rest of the birds are on their way.
Target bird for the day, probably the red-winged blackbird. They're starting to move through, but it's really early yet, and I feel like it's easy to get excited, but they're not here in numbers.
Upon arriving, I noticed a very unique species typically thought of as more of a winter visitor.
One of the first things I saw when I got here was white-winged crossbills, a species that you think of more in the winter time, feeding on like one pine tree that was there with some cones. So that was really cool to see. That's actually my first of the year white-winged crossbill. So let's get to work and see if we can find some birds at this cool-looking Riverwalk.
This particular trail is known as the Wisconsin Veterans Memorial Riverwalk and has 10 different memorials located along the path. This Riverwalk is also part of the Ice Age Trail and lines the Bark River, which at this location is shallow and crystal clear. I started walking on an elevated boardwalk that paralleled the river. In some places it was extremely iced over and difficult to walk on, but as I went, I picked up some species, including blue jays, mallards, and a pair of robins. Soon after, I heard the familiar call of my target bird.
I thought red-winged blackbird was going to be difficult to find, but I was very wrong about that. There are a couple of individuals already sitting up and calling in just plain view. They're a little distant, so not getting the best views of them, but I already found red-winged blackbird, and it feels like spring out.
Walking through the muddy grass and remaining ice, I made my way over to get a closer look.
Well, here he is right behind me on that light post up there. And there's another one I see over that way as well. So clearly the red-winged blackbirds are back.
The red-winged blackbird is one of the earliest arriving and most noticeable migratory birds in the northern US and southern Canada. They are year-round residents in many southern states and in parts of Mexico. Male red-winged blackbirds can be identified by their namesake red and yellow shoulder markings, along with their shiny black body coloration. Females are brown with cream and darker brown colors on their face and underside. Red-winged blackbirds live in a variety of habitats, but prefer open spaces such as marshes and agricultural fields. These blackbirds often make themselves known as they sit on top of cattails, trees, and power lines surveying the land and calling. I continued walking the length of the trail until I got to a spot where the river curved away. Here, I located a few more migratory species when I saw a flock of Canada geese fly over, in addition to hearing sandhill cranes and a belted kingfisher.
I think my favorite thing so far is just hearing the different sounds of spring. You can hear the red-winged blackbirds calling in the distance, the geese overhead, the sandhill cranes, just all very familiar things that signify that the warmer weather and the rest of the birds are hopefully on their way.
As I made my way back, I noticed a winter species still in the vicinity when a dark-eyed junco sat up in a nearby tree. I also spotted another spring migrant and first of year to add to my list.
Ladies and gentlemen, huge news. It just picked up first of year common grackle. Saw 3 of them land in the top of a tree as I was walking back to the car. Glad that I took a little bit of extra time walking my way back. So add a new first of the year to the board.
While the Riverwalk was certainly productive, there was one thing that was preventing me from maximizing my birding.
There's a lot of stuff going on here down by the Riverwalk. It's just kind of loud overall. There's a lot of construction happening, cars nearby. So it's tough to hear and listen for species that might be around.
From the Riverwalk, I moved to a marsh just a few miles away, hoping to get some more wild looks at red-winged blackbirds in their natural habitat.
Welcome to the Heartland Marsh. So this area goes right through a cattail marsh, and I'm hoping that some more red-winged blackbirds will be here. I hear some crows already, so it seems pretty birdy. Let's see what we can find.
The Heartland Marsh only has a few access points, making it much more secluded than my previous location. It was easier to hear the calls of nearby birds, and I added some new species.
This spot definitely has a lot less noise than the other spot. I've heard my first of year fly over killdeer, so that was exciting. I hear a couple of red-winged blackbirds out there, but I don't see them yet. And then had a pair of raptors when a red-tailed hawk soared over, and then a merlin I got some good looks at, which was cool. I don't really see a lot of merlin, so that was nice. I'm gonna keep walking a little farther and see if anything else pops up, but so far this has been a great day overall with some of these early migrants.
Following the calls of the red-winged blackbirds, I finally got my eyes on one up in the treetops.
Red-winged blackbird found one up in a tree that I can get a visual on. It's not a better view than what I got before, but I guess it's a slightly more natural view as it's in a tree instead of on a power pole. But this is a very cool spot, a little more scenic, and the blackbirds are definitely here and should get more coming soon.
I made my way back toward the entry of the marsh, but as I was walking, I was excited to find one more new migrant.
I just saw a turkey vulture. There he is.
Well, I'm pretty satisfied with the birds I found, so I'm going to head out. But I'm looking forward to more migration coming in as the seasons progress. So everyone get out there, have fun as migration madness is underway.
Early March is certainly an exciting time to be a birder. The first arrivals returning to the north are an uplifting sign that spring is on its way. I was very happy to be able to find so many first-of-year birds in a single outing, and I look forward to the birds that will continue to move in during the coming months. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on Badgerland Birding.